Landmark Legal, Vice President of Legal Affairs, Mike O'Neill. They're going to court about every damn thing. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Fawn. How are you?
We're in Courtville, USA, with Donald Trump.
Oh, boy.
You know, if Joe Biden with his auto pen signed so many executive orders. Did he get dragged into court for any of them? He should have.
No, and I mean, and you just see what's been happening in the past day or two. It's mind-boggling what's going on with some of these district court judges at this point now. What happened yesterday, I think in the afternoon, with the district court judge in Washington, D.C., where he issued this memorandum opinion finding probable cause to hold the administration in contempt and criminal contempt, was certainly ridiculous. An escalation in all of this. Now, if you remember, this is the court where the Tren de Aragua individuals were first brought a lawsuit. They tried to secure a temporary restraining order in Washington, D.C. And this issue went all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, look, Washington, D.C. judge, you don't have jurisdiction to hear this case. If these cases need to be heard, they need to be heard in the venue of confinement. In other words, these individuals who are being detained in Louisiana and Texas, respectively, if they want to bring a habeas petition, they need to bring a habeas petition. They need to petition a court in either Texas or Louisiana. Washington, D.C., you don't have any jurisdiction to hear this case. That's a court decision. That's from the United States Supreme Court. Well, guess what? This district court judge wasn't content to let sleeping dogs lie. He decided he was mad because he had convinced himself that the administration had somehow violated his order when they refused to turn these planes around. That, remember, this is the planes that are sending the narco-terrorists down to El Salvador. They didn't turn the planes around. So the judge is still not letting sleeping dogs lie, revisiting this issue, reviving this issue, and deciding he's going to try to hold the administration in criminal contempt. Well, this is a complete overreach by this judge. He never had jurisdiction to hear this case in the first place. He doesn't have the authority to issue this criminal contempt citation. And now the administration has to go back to court and appeal this opinion to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals and then probably the United States Supreme Court. So here we are all again, triggering a constitutional crisis for something that was never necessary to do. Really
let's
astounding.
Spend our tax dollars wisely, shall we? Let's do that.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly,
over a terrorist and a woman beater and a gang member.
Yeah, that's another one. That's the other issue here. This is the issue we're talking about. The gentleman who's the national who was here in this country illegally for multiple years, and now you're seeing all the news that's come out in the past day. Right, this is an individual who was fairly clear that he was a member of MS-13. He beat I think he was girlfriend, then wife. A little fuzzy on the dates there. But then there's another report coming out that he was possibly aligned with human trafficking from Tennessee. All these parade of horribles coming out, and yet you got senators in Maryland going down to El Salvador to advocate for his release. We're in crazy town, Fawn. I don't know. This is insane world that we're living in, where you see a major political party advocating for terrorists, for narco criminals, for MS-13 gang members, for murderers. I know this is insane. And judges abetting this. It's just beyond the pale.
And then, I got an email from Trump's office this morning listing 13 other people from Maryland who also got deported for heinous crimes. And he doesn't appear to care about the victims of any of those people, some who were raped, even murdered, the mother of 5. Everybody's talking about this morning, Miss Marino. He doesn't appear to care at all about the safety of his community. He just wants his terrorists back.
I know. It's the modern Democrat Party today, and we can talk. It's funny, we talk about the legalities of all of this stuff, and the legalities are very important because it's imperative to understand how the system is functioning and whether the judges are participating in this and how their role in this and the judiciary's role in this. But it's interesting to talk about the political implications here, and you see the Democrat Party of today. They're backing what? They're backing gang members. They're supporting. You see this famous, quasi-celeb Taylor Lorenz talking about Luigi Mangione like he's some sort of, teen idol. It's just bizarre stuff that this happens. And Fawn, I'll contend to you this. I think it's part derived from the Trump derangement syndrome. I think it's just this instinctual reaction that anything that Donald Trump does, they're going to go to the wall opposing. And you're seeing it play out in real time right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is just showing exactly who they are. And a lot of Americans are not stupid enough to think that this is a good idea. But we actually have people in the streets with signs supporting this sort of behavior. So how did so much of the general public get this stupid?
Well, I think what you see is and you saw this with the tail end of the Biden administration, a lot of these disbursements, these government grants to these powerful NGOs. And I sincerely believe now that a lot of really well-funded NGOs organize these protests. I mean, and they're able to manufacture these protests. So you'll see people on the streets. It's a constituency that is designed to gin up. I'm sure there's a large percentage of these individuals who are probably paid, who are professional agitators who work for some of these NGOs and go out into the streets to mobilize individuals to come out and protest the cause du jour of the day. Meanwhile, there's no effort to understand what exactly is going on. I mean, was there any due diligence on the part of Chris Van Hollen before he decided he was going to run off to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of this MS-13? If there was any kind of due diligence on it, certainly he wouldn't have done it. I mean, I can't imagine anybody in their right mind would want to go out and make a big show of advocating for the release of a guy who beat his wife. I mean, and indisputably, who, by his wife's own admission, beat his wife. So I think what you see is a lot of these institutional organizations that are professional agitators and that mobilize this, and that's where you see a lot of these protesters from.
Yeah, it still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get how we indoctrinated so many people to be this bad. But they go to the voting booth and they vote these people in who are as loony as they are from out of nowhere. I don't know what happened to the America we grew up in, Mike. I really don't, because if someone acted like this when I was young and my parents were my age, they would have gone out and opened a can and shut it down. But for some reason, we sit on our hands and let it happen. Trump is the first person to say, sorry, now you got to go back to wherever you came from since you can't act right on the campus. And so now the campuses are suing so that they can continue with their agenda.
Right. Now, that's an important issue, is student visas, and this is worth talking about legally. The student visa is a privilege. You're not entitled to come to the United States and study at our behest. You come into this country and you agree to abide by conditions pursuant to your visa. And if you are going to engage in rampant anti-Semitism, I mean, I'm not talking about speeches. I'm talking about you're talking intimidating. You're talking blocking off areas of the college, making areas of Columbia University no-go zones for Jewish students. I mean, can you imagine that? How can you stay in our country as a foreign national? Think you could come to one of our so-called premier institutions and create no-go zones for a segment of the student body simply based on the fact that they are Jewish students, and be expected to stay in this country? That's ridiculous. No society should tolerate this for a second. And thank God that these individuals are being deported and sent out.
Yeah, well, you know what? England's allowing it too. So is Canada, and their people are starting but their people are starting to get sick of it. So they're saying we're being taken over by third world countries, and we are being turned into them by proxy. So it's amazing to me that people aren't on board with Doge, trying to save themselves money. They're actually protesting saving money, and they're out fighting for the cause of terrorists. The same kind of people who flew planes into towers to knock and kill people. I mean, they have the same mentality as those people. They hate America. And if it were anybody but the Jews, do you think this would be going on for very long?
Absolutely not. And it's funny, you bring up Doge. What is Doge doing? What is Doge has recognized, and the administration has recognized, that we have $38 trillion of debt we are facing, unsustainable debt. We are poised to go off the fiscal cliff, where we'll no longer be able to pay Social Security benefits, no longer be able to pay Medicare benefits, and no longer be able to fund our military unless we get a hold of our debt by some way. So Donald Trump tasks one of the greatest innovators of our time to go into the federal government, identify waste, fraud, and abuse, and cut that waste, fraud, and abuse. And what has happened because of that? This individual, Elon Musk, has been deemed a Nazi. His supporters, I mean, his employees, the individuals that he's brought in to do this work, have been deemed Nazis for what? To try to back America off the fiscal cliff? As you said, Fawn, it's absolutely insane. I don't know what's going on. I think it's just mass gaslighting, mass hysteria, or insanity on the left. It's really remarkable. It's
misinformation at its best, with, like the elephants on The View, or, people who just listen to any kind of network TV. But there was a young woman doing A Man on the Street, and she had a picture of Mao Zedong, Stalin, Xi Jinping and Trump, and she asked a young woman who was black, who do you think has harmed people most in their existence in the political world? And she said Trump. When the others murdered millions and millions of people. Hitler could have been on there. She would have picked Trump.
Yeah, and I think it's funny when you were talking. I was noodling through this, and I kind of it's been decades in the work. Remember, this is something that the left decided they were going to secure their control of our educational institutions decades and decades ago. They started out with the elite Ivy League institutions and trickled down, secured controls of the public schools and the agenda of the public schools by hook or by crook. And then so you start with this mass indoctrination as early as preschool. And by the time any kind of student has gone through the public school system through 12 years, and then maybe they go off to college, they've been thoroughly indoctrinated into the leftists. And it's really incumbent upon the parents of the United States, the parents of our children, to step up and ensure that this isn't happening. I do take heart in the fact, Fawn, that I think there is some kickback. If you see Gen Z, honestly, these are the youngest of the people. These are the people that are younger than the millennials. And as we're talking about this, they're overwhelming. I think they're conservative more often than not. I know young men are overwhelmingly identifying as conservative, and I think women are kind of catching on too.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So I take some heart in that I think some of the Gen Z folks are waking up to the problems here that we're facing.
They are, and they're arguing back, and they're becoming more pro-life. The churches are fuller than they were even 5 to 10 years ago.
Yes.
People are having. I'm just going to go with awakening as what this is, because retribution has had its day, and we have had enough. And that's why Trump won. That right there. That's why he won. And every time somebody posts something that's just a derangement thing, I've got a meme that says I'm going to rate this 3 Kamalas and 1 AOC on how stupid it is. Because it is absolutely off the wall, senseless, just a bunch of garbled bullcrap that they made up and people started to believe. And in the minute and a half that I have left, Maine better stop letting boys steal the dreams of girls pretty soon, or I see a really big problem for them.
Right. I like to see that the Department of Justice is taking action. It's one thing for private parties to bring lawsuits under the Title IX alleging discrimination, but it's an escalation. This is a good escalation. If the Department of Justice making this a priority to identify states that are violating Title IX by discriminating against biological females, by opening up these sports to biological males. It's a winner. It's a winner legally. I think that they're going to succeed in these lawsuits. I do think it's going to go up to the Supreme Court, and so it'll be square in front of the Supreme Court, possibly maybe next term, maybe in a couple of years. But I welcome the opportunity to make these arguments going forward in front of the court and interpret Title IX in a manner to not discriminate against biological females.
Yes, and hats off to all the women who are taking a knee and forfeiting when they know they have to fight a biological male, because it's unfair, it's dangerous, and I'm sorry that you stink as an athlete so that you don't want to compete against men, but you're not a girl. You can live your life as one. I'm fine with that. I'll even call you by whatever name you pick. I will. But if you go to steal my granddaughter's dream, now you and me got to fight, because I'm not going to let that happen. Period.
Absolutely. This is, and as I said, you've identified this. This is a loser politically and a loser legally.
Well, and it's a loser, period. You're a loser if you're a dude who wants to go in women's sports and steal a girl's dream, because you stink and you can't place in male sports. It's that simple. You stink.
That's just common sense, Fawn, right? That's just common sense.
Yeah. Well, I went boxing and I couldn't beat up Bruce, so let me go beat up Barbie. What? No.
And the fact that this is even being entertained by government institutions, again, speaks to the lunacy of our time. But I do take heart in the fact that I think that, as you said, there is awakening. People are sick and tired of it. You're seeing that over and over again. I think that the poll numbers overwhelmingly reflect that. Democrat Party, the numbers are tanking and are continuing to tank, and I think it's going to continue as long as they do these sorts of lunacy.
And guess what? If you're transgender and you want to live that way, I am going to treat you with the utmost respect. I don't understand your dysphoria, but if you are a good person, I will be nice to you.
Right.
But when you start taking away the rights of other people to support what you think is normal and isn't, now we have a problem.
Or trying to police my speech. Right, exactly.
Well,
you don't get to tell me what to say and how to say it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you can't be plural, as you and I discussed once before. You're screwing
Certainly.
people up. You're screwing up our kids biologically and grammatically by saying you're a they or a them. You are one or the other. Sorry. All right. Mike O'Neill, Landmark Legal, Vice President, Legal Affairs. Where do they go to learn more, sir?
Just check out our website, landmarklegal.org. You can check out our Facebook or our X, Landmark Legal Foundation.
Take care, man.
Take care, Fawn. Good to talk to you.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. That's it.